Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to do a video on how to start budgeting. I want to kind of go over the first step that I took when Jason and I started budgeting as a married couple. And this might be a little hard if you're starting as soon as you guys merge your accounts, because at that point, you really don't have any spending history. But for me and Jason, we started doing it probably when I was done with school, so about 6 months after we got married. And what I did, the first step that I took was I looked at our credit card statement. Now, I'm not condoning credit card statements. I'm not saying that you should use them. I know a lot of people have issues with credit cards, but for me and Jason, we've never had an issue with credit cards. Anything that we purchase, we purchase knowing that we have the money in our bank account to pay for it. So for us, really, it's just the same as a debit card. We would never buy anything unless we had the actual money in our account. So the first thing that I did is I just took a look at what we were spending. You can see our normal credit card statement was like 1.5 pages. And just to let you guys know, this is from last year, so it is very different from our current budget, especially like you'll see restaurants is a huge thing for us. Now we use cash envelopes, so that is not the case anymore. But let's just use an example. This is honestly the first step that we took, so I'm not going to go into the second step, the third step. I'll probably do separate videos for that. But I think this is probably one of the most important steps in your budgeting process, because if you just make a budget and you're not basing it off of anything, it's most likely going to be wrong, and then you're going to be over or under, and you're going to wonder why that is. So let's use the example of groceries. So at this point, we were a year, it was a year after we had Macy. So, so that is definitely a reason why our groceries might be a little bit more expensive. But let's just take a look at kind of what we have here. Okay, so you can see here, starting here is where all of our groceries are, and go all the way down to January 9th. So what I'm gonna do is, first thing, I'm looking through, and it looks like we're going to the grocery store pretty consistently. And you can see sometimes it's only a couple of dollars and sometimes it's a little bit more. So let's go ahead and add all of these up and kind of see on average for a month what we were spending. So the first charge was $54.65. The next was $62.35. Then we have $6.94. Then $54.55 or $55. $94.84. $10.42. $23.77. $44.97. And then we have Aldi for $52.92, $8.17, and then $15.91. So that gives us a total here of $429.49. Now, if you watch my current videos, you know that our budget really depends on the amount of weeks in a month. If the month has 4 weeks or 5 weeks, our budget really, changes depending on that, because we usually do about $100 per week for groceries. Back then, when we were doing budgeting, I believe we were still trying to get to be around $75 per week. So right now I'm going to just pull one of my old planners and kind of look at what was going on in 2016. Let's see, where's the, is there one that has like the I don't know if this planner has it, if it shows the prior year. Doesn't look like it. Well, that's a bummer. I'm surprised. Well, we'll kind of go off this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's just assume that there was 4 weeks in that month. I don't have, unfortunately, I do not have a calendar that has the calendar view on it. So let's just assume that there's 4 weeks, and I'll kind of transition here. So our total groceries were $429.49, and like I said, back then we budgeted $75 per week, and let's assume that there's 4 weeks. So we should have had groceries of $300, and you can tell we were you can tell that we are $129.49 over budget. Now, if I was still new to this whole budgeting thing, and even back then, like when we weren't actually budgeting, I would kind of take a look at our groceries and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we spent, that looks good, and I would kind of like add it up in my head a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily add all of this up. I would just say, well, I remember like the first week we spent like $50, then we went and we spent like $60, and I'm like, yeah, we were probably around $75 per month or $75 per week. And then I would wonder, why am I not saving as much money as I should have? And that's because I didn't actually physically sit down and do what I did here. I didn't actually physically sit down and add everything up and see what the totals are. Because one thing that a lot of statements don't do is they don't give you totals. So you really don't see where you're spending all the money. So really, when we began budgeting, when Jason and I began budgeting after we bought our house, and you guys saw my very first new budget in April of last year, or this year, I guess. What I did is I sat down with my Discover credit card bill, and I went down and did exactly what I just did. I added up all of the different categories, and you can see for restaurants, we went out a lot, mostly because I was in school, we were moving, we just bought a house, all of that. So I went through every single category, and first thing I categorized everything. So obviously restaurants and gas, that's easy, but like what was all of this? What did we spend at Walmart for $72? Was that groceries? Because that's not included in this grocery amount here. So I just went through and I really looked at what we were spending, and that's kind of what I based a lot of my budget off of. So, you know, if I saw that we were spending $429 on groceries, then I knew, okay, instead of being at $75 per week, we probably need to be closer to $100 per week. And we need to kind of cut back a little bit, because even that, we would be over $29. So really, I think if you're starting out, if you're new to budgeting and you need a starting point, you have no idea how much you're spending on stuff. You don't know how to estimate what you're going to spend for groceries. You don't know how to estimate what you're going to spend for diapers or whatever other categories you have. Take a look at your bank statements or your credit card statements and go through a couple of months and add them all up. See what you're spending. If you need to, if you don't like physically adding them up, then do it in Excel. You can do pivot tables, you can do all of that, and see where your money is going, because that's super important. It's honestly the first step, because you can't create a budget without knowing like what your typical spending habits are. And doing that, you'll find out, okay, I need to cut back on groceries, I need to cut back on eating out, or maybe not that. Maybe you just need to give yourself a little bit more money. Maybe instead of saying, we really need to cut it back to $75 per week, maybe we give ourselves a little bit more. So really, that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys. I want to do like a series on like the steps to budgeting, and so I thought this would be a great first step, is really just to find out where your money's going and see what you're currently spending. And then in the next video, if you guys are interested, please let me know down below if you are interested in seeing the next step. I will do another video on my second step. And I think this would be great, especially for people who are just beginning to budget and who don't necessarily know exactly where to start. And it's huge, especially after, you know, going months and months and even more years without actually sitting down and doing a budget. You might not know where to start. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions about what I went over, if you would like to see the next step in this process, leave me a comment down below. I would love to answer your guys' questions. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.